Indiana Fever did finish the WNBA preseason undefeated.
And it has officially gone.
This was a kind of a weird game. Lexie Hull goes off. Caitlin Clark gets her first tech.
Not that record matters in the preseason or the exhibition.
And Sophie Cunningham goes down as the Fever beat the Atlanta Dream for an undefeated preseason.
There's a storm brewing in Indiana, one made of logo threes, unexpected heroes, and a fan base riding the high of a flawless preseason. Caitlin Clark, fresh off a scare that nearly sidelined her, pulled up from so far beyond the arc, it felt like she was launching from another time zone. She's not just stretching the floor, she's bending the laws of basketball geometry. And just when defenses think they've adjusted, boom, there's Lexie Hull stepping into the spotlight with a fourth quarter takeover nobody saw coming. This isn't your average preseason highlight reel, it's a warning. Indiana isn't just loaded, they're locked in. And they're hunting something bigger than headlines.
The Indiana Fever did finish the WNBA preseason undefeated. Not that record matters in the preseason or the exhibition, but when you're testing things out, trying things out, you're without Caitlin Clark for a game and you still wind up ahead on the scoreboard by the end of the contest, it's not a bad thing.
The Indiana Fever closed out their preseason with a clean 3-0 sweep. But don't let the record fool you. This finale came with chaos, a last-minute injury scare to their franchise star, a fierce back and forth with the Dream, and a new spark off the bench that might have just changed their entire rotation blueprint. Add in whispers from Atlanta's side and you've got drama, momentum, and a roster that's more dangerous than advertised. This wasn't just a final tune-up, it was a signal. So if you're as excited for the season to start as I am, comment the Fever roster will dominate down below, and let's go.
When I watch the Fever, even when they're not at their best, one thing I can't help but think is that they're just going to run teams off the floor and destroy them with their firepower. They just have so many players that can beat you and can score. And, Duana Bonner didn't even start this game. Sophie Cunningham started in her place.
For a few tense hours, the Fever's perfect preseason run nearly unraveled before it began. Just one day before the final showdown with Atlanta, social media erupted. Caitlin Clark might not play. During the team's last practice, she collided with a male scout team player, landing hard on the same leg that had already been strained earlier this spring. It wasn't just a routine bump. Clark was sidelined with an ice pack, and suddenly, Indiana's vibe shifted from confident to cautious. Fans were refreshing Twitter like their lives depended on it. Would the team's lightning rod even suit up for their final preseason game?
They're just doing a drill, and if you're looking what happens here. Caitlin Clark pulls up. Caitlin Clark pulls up immediately. And a lot of people are saying that it's not.
Inside the Fever's camp, tension was real. Medical staff scrambled, teammates kept glancing at the training table, and fans feared the worst. Indiana had cruised to 2 straight preseason wins, but now the undefeated momentum felt fragile, balanced on the ankle of a rookie who means everything to the team's identity. As the hours ticked down to tip-off, speculation turned to anxiety. Would Clark miss her final preseason test? Would this nagging leg issue carry into the regular season? Every update was met with either dread or disbelief. And then finally, clarity.
Coach just mentioned you've been limited in practice this week. Just how are you kind of working back from that leg injury?
Yeah, I think taking my time. I feel really good, honestly, and excited to get out there and play again tomorrow, work on things that we need to work on. And yeah, Maria's been great. Our medical staff has been really helpful. But I feel really good, honestly.
Moments before the team hit the floor, the Fever dropped the news everyone had been waiting for. Clark was cleared. Not only would she play, she'd start. Just like that, the fear faded. The injury scare became an afterthought. Clark wasn't just available, she was ready to torch the court. And with the Fever's perfect record still intact, the real show was about to begin.
There's no reason to overdo anything right now. It's been the beginning of the season. Still don't play here for another week, the last 2 days have been really, really good for myself.
You know where it started? What caused it to get her?
I don't. Probably just a little too much basketball. I think, I love being in the gym, but I think understanding when to be in the gym and, when to recover and things like that. So I think just finding a balance and obviously just getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, it was nothing major or anything like that.
From the opening tip, it was clear. Caitlin Clark wasn't easing into anything. If the Atlanta Dream thought they'd get a cautious, injury-limited version of Clark, they were about to get embarrassed. She started pulling from beyond NBA range, deep shots that defied logic and shattered defensive schemes. One in particular, a missile from just inside the half-court logo, had the Dream bench frozen. Clark wasn't just recovered, she was reloading.
Irons it. So second attempt, same spot, same result for Maya Caldwell. That's Caitlin Clark, top of the key, and drains her first triple of
That logo 3, it wasn't just a flex, it was a callback. Same spot, same motion, same electricity that she lit up Iowa with a week earlier. For Atlanta's defense, it was deja vu with a side of helplessness. The ball floated, spun, and sank with that signature Clark grace. By the time the game ended, her stat line told the story. 13 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds in just 23 minutes. And oh yeah, she did all that a day after a leg scare. Whatever questions people had about her toughness, they got their answer in real time.
of Natasha Howard gets the bucket. Step back triple. Kelsey Mitchell to the rim. There we go. Well, that's Caitlin Clark, top of the key, and drains her triple.
When the final buzzer rang, it wasn't just a win, it was history. 81-76, a perfect 3-0 preseason sweep. But what fans will really remember, that fourth quarter pivot. With the game hanging in the balance and Clark resting on the bench, a different hero emerged. Lexie Hull, the same player who flew under the radar last year before closing the season on a heater. Now, she wasn't just a bench piece, she was the closer, quietly grinding all preseason, waiting for her moment. And when it came, she grabbed it like it was hers all along.
Now BG says she's rediscovered her love for the game, saying Atlanta reminds me of home. I'm back in the South and this was the best decision of my life.
She is completely fine, just needing rest, so we will not see her for the rest of this ball game.
Yeah, we can't give out all our weapons.
Turnover as Maya Caldwell got a little too deep.
Here's what made it so special. Lexie Hull wasn't even supposed to be a headline. With all the offseason hype around the Fever's superstar additions, Hull had quietly accepted a new role, coming off the bench. No complaints, no noise, just focus. But against Atlanta, she flipped the script. There was a swagger in her step, something different, something sharper. She looked like a player who'd been waiting for the lights to hit, and when they did, she lit it up. Not just flashes, full-on takeover mode.
More than anything, just being able to practice with our team. We're getting a lot of good reps in practice, and I think, confidence comes from that. Confidence comes from getting the reps, the game-like reps, over and over again in practice. And, our team's super competitive. So every single day that we've had of training camp so far has felt pretty much game-like. Like we're all taking it very serious, and it starts in practice.
The dream came hard in the fourth. Clawing, pressuring, daring Indiana to blink. But Hull, she became a storm, threading defenders with sneaky drives, rising for mid-range jumpers, like she was in a gym, alone. She sliced through Atlanta's zone like it was paper. One sequence had her split 2 defenders off the dribble and finish with a finger roll that drew gasps from the crowd. Lexie didn't just respond to the pressure, she weaponized it.
It's like, nah, shoot that thing when you open.
Lexie Hull getting downhill, finds the bucket and one, as this will be the largest lead for Indiana.
But Hull's brilliance wasn't just about points. It was the chaos she created. She was a one-woman press break, tipping passes, forcing turnovers, creating easy looks. Her defense was everywhere, like she had the opponent's playbook in her pocket. After the game, Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back. When you accept your role like Lexie does, you don't let it define you. You expand it. Translation, Hull didn't just play her part, she redefined what her part even was. And the Fever? They might have found their new late-game weapon.
She's playing with such a high level of confidence. You saw that the second half of last season, her starting to grow into that. I think you saw it a lot in Unrivaled as well. It unlocked, I think, a little bit of creativity. I think sometimes when you're a young player in this league, when you accept your role, as Lexie does, you can't allow it to put you in a box, right? Like your role can change throughout the course of a season. Your role can change throughout the course of career.
Coach White wasn't just tossing compliments. She was laying out Lexie Hull's evolution. Her creativity, sharper, her instincts, faster, her teammates, trusting her with the ball in critical moments. White highlighted how Hull now reads defenses like a veteran, not a reserve. And when Hull spoke post-game, she gave credit to her reps in fever practices and her championship experience in the unrivaled 3-on-3 league. That's where she honed her edge. When you've got to guard and score in tight spaces, she said, you either get better or get left behind. Clearly, she got better.
It's going to be an exciting season. I think more than anything, we're a deep team, and I think everyone's really bought into trusting the process. The season, it might not start off super pretty, but we know that putting in the work, putting in, trust into the coaching staff, trust in each other, that by the end of the season we'll be exactly where we want to be. So just excited, with the progress we've made even over just 3 games.
By the time the final buzzer sounded, Hull had scored 11 of her 14 points in the fourth quarter alone. Let that sink in. She came off the bench and closed the show. Her cold-blooded efficiency down the stretch iced the game when Clark was being blitzed. The official stat sheet, glowing. But what it doesn't show is how Hull changed the entire conversation about Indiana's depth. She's not just a role player anymore. She's a closer, a difference maker, and maybe the most underrated piece in this Fever puzzle.
Lexie does. You can't allow it to put you in a box, right? Like your role can change throughout the course of a season. Your role can change throughout the course of career. So you want to be able to stretch and expand. And I think Lexie's done a really good job of putting herself in position for that. Running actions for her. Allowing her to decision make. Hell, I think in the Washington game we had her playing some point. So it's a tribute to the work that she's put in, the confidence that she's built with her discipline and work ethic in the offseason. And you trust her on the floor. You trust her to make the right play and make the right read.
Hull's rise just rebalanced the entire roster narrative. What looked like a top-heavy team now feels like a squad with depth nightmares for opposing coaches. 1 week ago, Lexie was a supporting name. Now, she might be the X factor. But just as fans were celebrating, one moment reminded everyone how fragile this dream can be. Midway through the second quarter, Caitlin Clark showed a side that had fans holding their breath. After a fast break turnover while it led to a layup for Atlanta, Clark fired the ball off the basket stanchion. The whistle came fast, technical foul. And just like that, the spotlight turned from her scoring to her frustration.
Get 12-3 run as they are now just down 1 point.
It wasn't the bucket, it wasn't the pass, it was the fire. Caitlin Clark, after a no call on what she thought was contact, spiked the ball off the base of the hoop with a flash of frustration you rarely see from her. The ref didn't hesitate. Technical foul. But what happened next might have been even more important than any highlight reel shot. Before Clark could say another word, Sophie Cunningham stepped in. She didn't just play peacemaker, she played protector. Like a veteran big sister, she calmly ushered Clark away from the refs, away from the heat. No scolding, no judgment, just leadership. In that moment, we saw exactly why Cunningham matters far beyond her stats. She's the emotional thermostat of this team.
Cunningham actually stepped on somebody's foot and turned her ankle and had to leave the game.
But fate had one more test in store for Sophie. Just 1 quarter later, Cunningham went up for a rebound and came down on Ryan Howard's foot. Immediately, she limped, then hopped to the bench, grimacing. The arena got quiet. This wasn't just any role player. This was one of Indiana's loudest voices and most experienced enforcers. Trainers quickly wrapped her ankle in ice. Diagnosis, right ankle sprain, listed as doubtful to return. And suddenly, a perfect preseason had its first major cloud.
Hopefully the Fever are fully healthy going into that game. Hopefully Sophie Cunningham is good to go in that game. I know she was seen in a walking boot afterwards, but that's typical. It clearly wasn't a serious injury, but it doesn't mean it's going to be healthy a week from today either.
The buzz around Gainbridge Fieldhouse turned into anxious whispers. How bad was it? Would Cunningham be ready for opening night? Coach Stephanie White gave a measured update post-game. She said, "I'll be fine," White relayed, adding that Cunningham was already in the cold tub taking action. That's vintage Sophie, hurt but already grinding toward recovery. No official tests had been ordered yet, but her mentality spoke volumes, and so did the Fever's response. Next player up. They've been building for this, and it showed.
I don't think so. She was in there getting in a cold tub, so she keeps saying I'll be fine, so I trust her.
Even with the tension in the air, the game never lost its soul. As the final buzzer echoed, what we saw wasn't just handshakes, it was genuine respect. Players from both teams embraced, smiled, and shared moments like warriors recognizing each other after battle. And then came the moment that melted every timeline. Caitlin Clark and Brittany Griner, two titans from different generations, different journeys, meeting at center court. They didn't just dap up, they hugged. You could see the weight of that connection. a rookie phenom, a seasoned icon, and between them, mutual respect that transcended the scoreboard. One fan summed it up perfectly. That moment between Clark and Griner, that's what the WNBA is about. Because yeah, the Fever are talented, but they're also becoming something rare, a team with class, cohesion, and culture.
We did a better job of taking care of the ball in the second half. I was disappointed that we had 10 first half turnovers. A lot of them were trying to force things that just weren't there. I didn't feel like we were patient enough to get into our offense. So we did a better job of taking care of the ball. I always love when we have a high assist to made field goal ratio. I think we're going to find a lot of success when that happens for us. Quality depth, they came in and made impact, no doubt. And being able to, hold a team to 34% from the field. All points of emphasis for us. And even though it's not always that pretty, it's progress, and that's what we need.
That mix of fire and grace, that's what separates contenders from hype. Indiana didn't just go 3-0. They weathered injuries, outbursts, comebacks, and pressure, all before the season even officially started. Caitlin Clark made headlines, Lexie Hull made statements, Sophie Cunningham made sacrifices, but collectively, they made identity. A team that fights, recovers, adjusts, and respects the grind. And it's not just about chemistry between teammates, it's the way fans are responding too. This group is winning hearts and box scores. But now, the real test begins. Because while preseason gave us glimpses of greatness, the regular season doesn't do second takes.
Obviously, you want to win. I think winning it gives you a different kind of vibe, a different kind of feel. But more than anything, we want to see growth. We want to see how we're able to utilize our depth. We want to continue to see different combinations, different lineups, what it looks like. And we want to see application of things that we've done in practice.
Circle May 17th in red, underline it twice, and mark it with a fire emoji. Because that's the night the Fever finally hit the main stage, primetime on ABC, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, against the Chicago Sky. This isn't just a game, it's a national spotlight moment. And the Sky, they're not coming to clap. They're coming with schemes designed to shut Caitlin Clark down. Hard hedges, blitzes, denial defense, whatever it takes to break her rhythm. Every possession will be a test. Add to that the lingering question around Sophie Cunningham's ankle. She said she'll be fine. She was already icing it postgame, brushing it off like a scratch, but no one knows for sure if she'll be ready. Still, her toughness is a mirror of what this team's about. This isn't a group hoping to compete, it's a squad daring the league to come get them. And game one is where the war drums start.
Sophie's so fun to play with. She has a different energy about her, something you can't teach, something you can't tell people to act like because you either have that or you don't. And being able to play with her, you feed off of that. And she feeds off the crowd feeds off her. So it's super fun. And I'm very grateful to get to play alongside her.
Nobody's hanging a championship banner just yet, but let's not play coy. This Indiana Fever team feels dangerous. They didn't just win 3 preseason games, they built a blueprint. They took adversity, injuries, ejections, tight finishes, and used it like fuel. Caitlin Clark lit the fuse, Lexie Hull gave them fourth quarter firepower. Boston, Mitchell, and the vets laid the foundation. What we're witnessing isn't just a fun young team, it's a chemistry experiment that clicked early. That kind of cohesion usually takes years. This squad found it in weeks. Now the only real question is, how loud can this team get once the real bullets start flying? Because the Fever aren't just chasing wins in 2025. They're chasing a moment, a movement, a WA awakening centered around a roster that refuses to wait its turn. So if you're fired up for opening night, smash the like. Comment, "The Fever roster will dominate," down below, and make sure you're locked in. Because this team, they're not knocking on the door. They're kicking it open.